Hello, it's been Triple. What am I doing? Hello, it's Triple H came with another video. SCP, it's on my screen right now. SCP 1264, Resurrected, Wreckage. It's Keter, so I guess they cannot control this one. Resurrected Wreckage. Okay. Damn.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Keter?
My name is Dr. Miller,
Yo.
and the SCP we're going to be looking at today is SCP-1264. Object Class, Keter. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-1264 is located 75 meters below the ocean's surface of the South Pacific at... It is to be held in place by 8 pairs of 10 kiloton deadweight anchors chained together and attached to SCP-1264. Mobile Task Force Gamma-6 Deep Feeders will be tasked with performing bi-monthly examinations done by remote submersibles in order to inspect the integrity of the anchors and chain. 450 naval contact mines will be positioned around, over, and under SCP-1264. The mines will be placed 20 meters from each other in order to sympathetically detonate in the event of a contact. Shipping lanes at aquatic anomalies, such as SCP-2467, will be diverted in order to avoid the containment area. Since detainment, SCP-1264 has exhibited no activity but still remains buoyant. Description: SCP-1264 is an amalgamation of once derelict warships and various pieces of flotsam or jetsam that have been adhered together by organic secretions. The main body of SCP-1264 is made of 5 World War II-era warships that were used as target ships as part of the Operation Crossroads atomic bomb tests performed at the Bikini Atoll in 1946. The following ships that make up SCP-1264 were confirmed to have sunk after the tests: USS Saratoga, CB-3, Lexington-class aircraft carrier; Nagato, Nagato-class dreadnought; Prince Eugen, Admiral Hipper-class heavy cruiser; USS Lamson, DD-367, Mahan-class destroyer;
Dang.
USS Apagon, SS-308, Vallejo-class submarine; and various sections of a yard oiler, Y0160. Survey reports of the wreckage performed at the Bikini Atoll in 1954 showed a number of sunk ships missing from the lagoon. In response, the U.S. Navy built and sunk several dummy ships in their place in order to cover up any evidence of the missing original ships. The U.S. government then initiated Operation Castle under the guise of nuclear testing, but was actually intended for the purpose of creating sufficient nuclear fallout as to make the Bikini Atoll area uninhabitable. SCP-1264 was first documented on January 30th, 1959, 56 kilometers south of Cape Farewell, Greenland, when it engaged and sunk the MS Hans Hedtoft during its maiden voyage. SCP-1264 shows only moderate corrosion and damage, in contradiction of U.S. Navy records on the individual ships. The centerpiece of SCP-1264 is the aircraft carrier with several large jib cranes attached to its deck. The other ships are fastened to the sides of the centerpiece by means of hardened secretions. All of the ships are missing their superstructure or conning towers. Other flotsam and jetsam has been attached to fill in empty spaces between the ships and roughly makes up 12% of the SCP-1264's total mass. SCP-1264 is armed with various pieces of artillery, torpedoes, AA guns, and depth charges. However, only several pieces of artillery have ever been seen in use, which indicates that either the remaining are non-operational or there are insufficient resources to operate them. SCP-1264 spends most of its time underwater as a submersible. Above the water, SCP-1264 is capable of speeds up to 31 knots. SCP-1264 is maintained by a crew that has been designated SCP-1264-A. Each fit inside a U.S. Navy standard rubber diving dress and are equipped with a Mark V diving helmet and weighted boots. SCP-1264-A are headless humanoid entities closely related to sea cucumbers. See autopsy report. SCP-1264-A are also connected by a flexible arterial cord roughly 90 meters long, that is in turn connected to SCP-1264's interior. SCP-1264-A displays a deep understanding of SCP-1264's mechanical and electrical systems. SCP-1264-A habitually performs repairs and maintenance with what is available within their designated areas. SCP-1264-A are characteristically slow, obstinate, and exhibit no real intelligence of their own. SCP-1264-A also secrete a strong adhesive through their gloves that acts as a waterproof sealant, binder, filler, and cement in order to maintain the structural integrity and buoyancy of SCP-1264.
I see.
All of SCP-1264
Nuke it. That's all I'm hearing. Just nuke it.
steerage and weapon systems are operated by SCP-1264-A. In turn, SCP-1264-A is commanded by a single entity designated SCP-1264-1. SCP-1264-1's appearance is unknown, and the only physical evidence for SCP-1264-1's existence are the arterial cords that connect SCP-1264-A to the ship's interior. These cords are lined with strands of neural tissue that do not originate from SCP-1264-A. This indicates that SCP-1264-A is directly connected to a separate biological entity, or that SCP-1264-1 is actually the collective consciousness of SCP-1264-A.
Yes.
SCP-1264-1 has proven on numerous occasions to be a hostile and skillful tactician of naval warfare. SCP-1264-1 has been reported in some cases to transmit radio signals via ELF radio. To date, SCP-1264-1 has engaged civilian and military vessels and has sunk of them, though SCP-1264-1 has shown a preference for passenger ships over other vessels. After the destruction of a vessel, SCP-1264-A will then throw fishing nets on top of survivors floating in the water. These nets are then attached to the hull of the sinking vessel or an anchor so that it will drag down the net and its contents. Post-incident recovery teams using submersibles are unable to locate any corpses underwater after they are dragged to the bottom. In SCP-1264 was involved in a protracted engagement with Mobile Task Force Tau 11, can openers, and was effectively suppressed. In its impaired condition, SCP-1264 was then towed out under armed escort to its current containment area for indefinite detainment. Autopsy Report 1264-A8, ID BPD 110094-67F. Decedent, SCP-1264-A1. Age, non-applicable. Race, non-applicable. Sex, non-applicable. Length, 177.0 centimeters. Weight, 111.3 kilograms. Location of autopsy, Research Site 45. Autopsy authorized by Dr. W. Hermes. Recovered post-incident, 1264-12D. Clothing or equipment. Mark V diving helmet. Standard U.S. Navy diving dress, rubber. Weighted boot. External examination. Multiple blast and fragment injuries to the chest and abdomen, including amputation of one of the lower extremities. There are multiple penetrating fragment injuries of the interior thorax. Bilateral symmetry is present in the physical appearance. 4 extremities branch out from the central body, 2 upper and 2 lower. The upper extremities branch out again into 4 smaller distal appendages. This allows the subject to operate inside the suit by taking on a nearly humanoid form. History: injured by explosive munitions. Gross description: skin. A membranous epidermis and dermis are both present. A thin layer of calcified structures lies below the dermis and is made of isolated microscopic ossicles joined by connective tissue. Head and neck. Head is totally absent. Mark V diving helmet is only filled with seawater and detritus. The open neck actually serves as the anus, expelling waste into the helmet. Skeletal system. An endoskeleton made of reinforced calcareous rods, plates, and bulbs provides upright support to the body and extremities. These structures are not true bones as they lack marrow, nerves, endostome, and periostome. Structures are held tightly in place by the surrounding radial muscles. Muscle tissue. Tissue is dark brown in color and formed in a circular pattern around the endoskeleton. A water vascular system is present to allow elongation and introversion of the muscle tissue. Water is not actually used in the hydraulics, but rather a coelomic fluid. Circulatory system. Hundreds of miniature ampullae are present within the muscle tissues that pump the coelomic fluid. Phagocytic coelomocytes, somewhat similar in function to the white blood cells of vertebrates, are formed within the haemal vessels and travel throughout the body
What is this, a plant?
cavity via coelomic fluid. These coelomocytes also seem to be responsible for carrying the hemoglobin. Respiratory and digestive system. Oxygenated and deoxygenated coelomic fluid is circulated via the arterial cord protruding from the dorsal side. This cord is the body's lifeline for both oxygen and nutrition, similar to a fetus connected to the mother's placenta. Body cavity lacks gills and stomach. The cord directly branches off into the intestines and major vessels once inside the body. Nervous system. Brain is completely absent. Nerve tissue stems from the thin notochord-like structure that is included in the arterial cord. Small eye spots are present on the distal upper appendages. Other comments. A system of interconnected glands fills the entire ventral thoracic cavity. These glands are responsible for secreting the specialized adhesive. Secretions are then pumped through the upper extremities and out the distal orifices.
Okay.
Other lab procedures. Toxicology, photography, X-ray, and microscopic examination. Disposition of evidence. Toxicologist, vitreous and fluids. Lead investigator, clothing and equipment. More custodian, body. Note: items not specifically stored in the Lab 62 vault are to be incinerated. Dr. W.H. Summary. Body exhibits strong physical and anatomical traits with echinoderms, especially Holothuridae or sea cucumbers. Though the body includes many independent systems, it is completely dependent on this cord for sustenance and direction. Control of the body is granted through the cord through some other intelligence, as it is evident how the neural pathway ends inside the body cavity but originates elsewhere. The body should be considered as a physical extension of this intelligence. This entity must be made of the same anatomical characteristics as SCP-1264-A1 in order to utilize and manipulate these extensions. This entity, if it is in fact a singular consciousness, would have to be extremely adept to handling an enormous amount of input and output signals simultaneously in order to manage all of SCP-1264-A. Mobile Task Force After Action Report, 1264-D2. SCP involved, SCP-1264. MTF involved, Mobile Task Force Tau 11. Date, March 11th, 1999. Location, 15 kilometers north from the coast of the Hawaiian island of Kauai. Preamble. Engagement is authorized after a cruise ship is attacked by SCP-1264. MTF Tau 11 can openers is dispatched to the area with 5 Pegasus-class hydrofoils, PHM-7 through PHM-11, and 1 Juliet-class submarine, CMS-3, from Marine Command 9. CMS-3 was standby and awaiting clearance from the PHM Rapid Response Unit in order to launch its P-500 missiles without jeopardizing civilians. Upon arrival of the PHM unit, the cruise ship was on fire and taking on water while listing steeply to port. SCP-1264-A was seen from a large opening on the starboard side throwing fishing nets over the survivors in the water. 1301. MTF Tau 11 PHM unit made contact with SCP-1264, while SCP-1264-A attempted to ensnare the survivors. PHM-7 and PHM-9 then broke formation to engage SCP-1264-A directly using their 76mm guns. SCP-1264-A was quickly suppressed as PHM-7 and PHM-9 fired along SCP-1264's starboard hull. 1303. PHM-8, 10, and 11 fired their Harpoon missiles directly into the stern of SCP-1264 from a distance of 750 meters away. SCP-1264 was hit and took damage to 2 of its rudders. 1304.
Alright, just my neighbors. My bad.
SCP-1264's port side turrets all turned 90 degrees to their 9 o'clock position just before SCP-1264 rapidly dove into the water. Afterwards, underwater explosions and floating debris was seen trailing off to the west. PHM-7 and PHM-9 investigate. During this time, CMS-3 made positive radio communication with SCP-1264-1. See addendum. Behind the remaining 3 PHMs, SCP-1264 partially resurfaced, just enough to expose its port-side turrets. SCP-1264 was positioned with the PHM's starboard hull directly in its line of fire. 6 of the port battery's 140mm guns fired into the 3 PHMs, effectively destroying them. PHM-7 then relayed to CMS-3 that SCP-1264 was clear of the civilians. CMS-3 then launched 2 P-500 missiles targeted at SCP-1264.
Kill it.
1311. SCP-1264 then began to move towards the capsizing cruise ship and fired 2 of its 410mm guns at the exposed bilge keel at a distance of only 175 meters. The ship exploded and splintered into several sections. SCP-1264 then plowed through the floating debris. The P-500 missile's active radar was unable to distinguish SCP-1264 from the wreckage, and they missed the target.
Dang.
1313. SCP-1264 launched Mark 14 torpedoes at PHM-7 and PHM-9. SCP-1264 collected the remaining nets of ensnared passengers and dove underwater for a second time.
Damn, man.
Both PHMs easily outmaneuvered the torpedoes. CMS-3 was then ordered by Marine Commando 9 to track SCP-1264 with sonar and pursue. The remaining PHMs attempted to retrieve any survivors left in the water that were able to avoid the nets. Only 19 of 215 bodies were recovered from the scene.
Damn.
1510.
Resurface or be destroyed. You copy? Unknown contact. Resurface or be destroyed. Do you copy?
Granted.
Unknown contact, you have 2 minutes to resurface. This is an ultimatum. Do you copy? Unknown contact, respond.
Said yes.
At this time, SCP-1264 resurfaced and destroyed 3 of the PHMs.
Oh, dang.
End log. Post-encounter summary. The survivors were debriefed and given Class B amnestics before being handed over to
Yeah, I erased my memories. I'm not dealing with that. It literally reported back. Okay, fine, I'm coming out. Drown with me, boys. Oh.
the U.S. Navy. A cover story was distributed through the media that the cruise ship sunk after suffering a catastrophic engine fire, which killed almost all of the passengers. A false investigation of the accident was also initiated in order to suppress growing public suspicion.
Damn.
On June 8, 1999, SCP-1264 was reported and photographed by a fishing trawler in the Indian Ocean. Photos were intercepted and revealed that all damage done to SCP-1264 during Incident 1264-D2 had been repaired. Additional spending was later approved for MTF Tau 11 for expanding its fleet to include aerial support, acquisition of heavier armament, and installation of passive sonar buoys at strategic locations. End of file.
What else? Okay. Patreon supporters, I guess. Oh, wow. Wow. So, summary, or everything I've learned so far, because as you can see, I was not here before, so I had to go out. I was sleepy. If you look at my video, I was sleepy, right? But I still heard, just that, I'm still exhausted during the day. But basically, this was a test, right? This was a test. They were testing military weapons on ships, submarines, planes, right? They sank, right? Then when they sink, they checked, disappeared, right? Then they'll put other or fake ships there to not gain suspicion, because I'm pretty sure with all the world wars or whatever, they have to have a record of the Titanic sank there, the Mississippi was there, they have to have a record because they're DC divers. They have to have a and then it consumes people. I guess it turns them into the underwater guys, or it uses their material to gain intelligence, and then it creates its own underwater soldiers to, I don't know, scout the area, and then it has its own weapons that are functional, some are not working. It's Keter because you can't contain this thing. It just keeps getting bigger. The more ships keep sinking, the more vehicles keep sinking. Sorry. It keeps getting bigger, right? And keep getting more worse, and keeps trying to take in innocent people. And it's very intelligent because it knows what it's doing. It knows tactics. It literally attacked the ships, not the people. And then it leaves debris around the people. So this thing is, I can see why it's Keter. I don't know. They could contain it, but how would they remove it? Because it keeps getting bigger and bigger. Maybe on land it could get worse. Maybe start absorbing the computers, But the control towers in the ships and the planes get removed when this thing absorbs it or becomes part of it.